I'm Ilya Marchenko.
I'm Dennis Kudla.
And Jesper de Jong.
I'm Henry Laaksonen.
I am Francisco Cerundolo, and you are listening to the Game to Love podcast.
Hey, welcome back, tennis fans. Monte Carlo semi-finals are upon us. But before we go anywhere, before we talk about the semi-finals, there's another tennis story dominating all of the papers, all of the back pages, and it's the feud between Medvedev and Zverev. JG, you're the one who's the most excited to talk about this. We briefly spoke about it in the match earlier on. Can't wait to get stuck into this one.
Well, we was going to come on here and do a preview for Monte Carlo, but there is big news, and it's all about Zverev versus Medvedev. They don't like each other. It's clear. Medvedev has just beaten him the other day. Medvedev played today and went out to Holger Rune in straight sets. He looked very tired. And there was a bit of a funny moment at the end of that match, Ben. Maybe we start there with that one. Because Medvedev said some strange words to Rune at the net, saying, you played unfair. At this point, you have to give it to Daniel. He doesn't take crap from no one, not fans, not players, not anyone. This man's so cold, he'll leave icicles. You have to go up a tad.
Yeah.
He'll leave icicles hanging from your ears. And this was not about Holger Rune. It was said in jest about comments Zverev has made about Daniel Medvedev, talking about how he's the most unfair player on a tennis court. Firstly, before we get into Zverev's statement, do you agree that Medvedev is a really unfair tennis player? Or in the words of Zverev, the most unfair tennis player?
No, I don't think so. I feel that he has his moments, as does everyone, as does Zverev on the tennis court. I don't think you call him the most unfair tennis player, though. I think that's a bit harsh. Maybe it's a heat of the moment thing, or maybe it's something that's been like boiling up inside Zverev over the course of their rivalry, which is quite a close rivalry, it has to be said. And I think Medvedev's sort of taking the edge at the moment. He's won the last two back-to-back. He won at Indian Wells, and he's won their first ever meeting on clay. And I think that the clay one, I think that cuts a bit deeper for Zverev because he's supposed to be the better clay court player, and he's lost to somebody who hates the clay courts. And then he didn't have many nice words to say about Medvedev, did he? And after that one,
yeah, I think it's worse the fact that Zverev is very good on clay. He then had two chances to serve out for the match and didn't take them. And you've got a Medvedev figure the other side of the court who's had a few disturbances in the match, to say the least. We had the toilet break during the match. We had the moment where he pulled that little stick from the net and threw it on the floor. There were some strange, bizarre moments which certainly got in the head of Zverev, let's be honest. And he has been so rattled ever since. I can understand why he does say that Medvedev is a bit of an unfair player, because I would say on the spectrum, he's not the fairest. No, and he does do a bit of gamesmanship from time to time. And he's the first person to come out and admit it. But coming from someone like Zverev, it doesn't really sound great. It's like me coming out here and just saying something like, I can feel like I can be a little bit arrogant sometimes on the podcast. I can't really then attack you for being arrogant, because when I do it, it feels a bit like that.
And
when I say arrogant, I come on in, I gloat about my picks. If you were to come out and gloat about your picks, I can't really say too much because I did the same thing.
This is it. I feel that Zverev, out of anybody, is probably one of the worst people to try and criticize Daniil in this way. Unfortunately, he's not been in headlines for many good reasons and been in the headlines for a lot of bad reasons, Sasha Zverev. So he needs to sort of try and, up the public opinion of him, and by just going after somebody who, I feel that Medvedev has quite a lot of fans on the tour nowadays. Even though he divides opinion, I think that he's a likable character. And the stuff he's doing, he's not smashing rackets. He's not hitting umpires. Yeah, not as much.
Not yet.
But he's doing little weird things. I mean, he did kick over a camera at one tournament.
I think he does cross the line at times. But let's actually hear what Zverev had to say. So we have got the quote. Let's go through it word for word. It is quite a long one, but we've got Ben Rothenberg here summarising it, saying, and the question what he was asked was, how do you feel after the match? As Zverev said, shit. That's absolutely clear, but it is what it is. For me, it's very, very bitter that he's really an outstanding tennis player. We don't even need to talk about that. He's one of the best tennis players in the world, but he doesn't win with tennis. He is one of the most unfair players we have in the world. He tries to do everything when he's behind. He did it in Indian Wells. He did it here. I'm just extremely disappointed about that as an athlete because I take fairness and sportsmanship very, very seriously. Does he? Unfortunately, he has none of that. The rivalry we have is incredible. We've played each other so many times, but one of the reasons why Roger and Rafa were so popular, I thought it was interesting he didn't mention Novak, and the rivalry was appreciated all over the world was because they were always fair to each other. And unfortunately, you can't say that about him, and that's just a real shame for me as an athlete.
Wow. Do you feel that I've been thinking about, obviously, the way their careers have gone. And do you think the word bitter really stuck out there for me? And I feel that he had an opportunity to win the US Open. He had 2 sets to love lead against Dominic Thiem and lost the US Open. Daniel Medvedev won the US Open in straight sets against Novak Djokovic, denying him the calendar slam. That, I think, might grind on him a little bit. The fact that he could have been that guy, and unfortunately, he's not that guy. And he's been unlucky with some injuries, sure, but he has come up short against big players time and time again. It's not to say that he wouldn't have got there. We thought maybe he might beat Rafa last year, but unfortunately, injury struck in that match, and we'll never know. And this is the thing. I feel that he's taken out a little bit of his own bitterness of how his success maybe in the sport so far, in that he's taken it out on Daniil a little bit here, I feel.
Coming to his defense, which I never thought I'd be saying on the
Whoa.
podcast, because I'm actually a big Medvedev fan, as I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
This is just after the match. It's in the heat of the moment. I mean, we all say crazy things just after you've lost, which you don't necessarily mean. Look at Medvedev as a prime example after he lost the Australian Open, talking about how he's fell out of love for the sport and he hates the sport, doesn't want to play anymore, blah. He was back the next event playing well. Well, wasn't straight away, but he still started playing tennis again, and he's still at the top level competing and playing some of his best tennis. So let's take what he says with a pinch of salt, a bit like Novak after his interview in Monte Carlo. I've never seen him so sad, to be honest, talking about he didn't want to talk about the match at all. He just didn't want it. He just wanted to congratulate his opponent and move on. Some would say it was a very salty Novak Djokovic as well. So it does happen. If you catch any player, an athlete who wants to win after they've just lost, it's difficult sometimes to articulate a fair and well-measured response. And I think in his defense, that is a part of this response is because of that.
I feel that the best comparison to use, and no better because we were there, would be Kyrgios Tsitsipas and that feud that happened at Wimbledon. Well, boiled up again at Wimbledon, and we had the press conferences, him calling him a bully, then Kyrgios saying, what's he talking about? He tried to hit me with the ball.
And now they're good friends, playing tennis together. They practice together. The difference is with this one, I think it's more of a sincere feud in terms of they're not going to be friends, ever. They generally don't like each other. They sort of knew each other a little bit juniors where they used to be semi-friendly, but they're never going to ever recover. And I remember Zverev when he won, I think it was Paris, and he mentioned Medvedev and Medvedev's wife in his victory speech. And Medvedev found it a bit strange because he doesn't even know him like that in terms of they weren't on them good terms. So it's a relationship that will never be rebuilt. Us as tennis fans, I think we need to just enjoy it because I like it. I love this fieriness. I think it's exciting. And I can't wait now to watch the next edition of Zverev-Medvedev because we're going to get one because they're both terrific tennis players.
Yeah.
And it will be most likely in a slam, the back end of a slam, back end of Masters, because they are the top of the game. And I can't wait for it. I think it's exciting.
There's another thing that I'm thinking as well, which may be the reason that they are such fierce rivals, is their games are quite similar and they look, the stature-wise, like they're nearly identical in stature and similar.
If they were built in a tube, it's like perfect tennis players.
Exactly. So
maybe they were made in the same factory.
Maybe, but I'm thinking, like, does he see him as like, oh, that was sort of my spiel. I was that guy who looks like this and plays like that. And now you've come in and you've sort of taken that away from me. And now you're that guy who's 6'6", big serving, and now looking good on clay.
Good
So
backhands.
yeah, exactly. So there is so many similarities. And I feel that all that similarity is what's causing the clash, because they probably are. They have strong opinions, both of them, and they both wind their opponents up as well. So that's a cause for a clash.
Well, Daniil Medvedev did respond. It was a very long response. I showed Ben a segment of it earlier, but we do have one tweet of a section here from the Tennis Letter who tweeted it out. And it reads, I usually feel bad when something on court happens. Sasha is living in his own world. Sasha is not like Casper, not like Diego, not like Andre. When he says someone is not fair play, you're like, okay, great. Look at yourself in the mirror.
And this picture, I think, looks like they're good buddies there in that picture, just staring at each other, probably just having an exchanging pleasantries there. Both wearing blue as well, both the same height, both similar sort of hair, all blustering all over the place. Yeah, I feel that Daniil knows how to get under someone's skin as well. That's one thing he's very good at.
Well, not just that, he knows how to defend himself.
Yeah.
It's not someone you can easily attack, is he?
Well, ask Tsitsipas.
He'll come for you, and he's got receipts. He's ready.
He said one thing once, and I don't think Tsitsipas will ever say it again, when they were very young on the tour, when he called him a, what was it? Bullshit Russian or something.
In Russian.
Yeah, in Russian. And then suddenly wasn't anywhere to be seen when Medvedev came to the net to confront him and wanted to have it out with him. So Medvedev doesn't shy away from a fight. You got to wonder, these Russians, they all know martial arts, so I wouldn't want to mess with them.
Yeah, but anyway, let us know your thoughts on this saga. Daniil Medvedev versus Zverev. I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. We will be reading all of your comments at the end, so please let us know.
Definitely. Right, let's get stuck into it. It is the semi-final, and it is the Fantastic Four. We've got to speak about this one first. It is Jannik Sinner who cruised through, let's be honest, against Lorenzo Musetti. It was 6-2, 6-2. And Holger Rune, who knocked out Daniil Medvedev in
Who also cruised through, no?
Yeah, I think so. I think that it was, well, both straight sets. All of the quarterfinals were straight sets.
Well, all of them did. Go down to the next two as well. All four have come into this doing very well. So the four of them, the last two, Rublev and Taylor Fritz, also winning in straight sets today.
Yep.
Four young players. I think it's a really exciting semi-final draw. First-time champion at Monte Carlo.
Jannik Sinner, this back-to-back Masters final. Could be back-to-back Masters finals if he gets there.
I mean, on paper, you've got to look at it, and Sinner's the favourite of the four.
I would say so, yeah. I would say that coming in, he looks very, very good. And I don't want to be mean, but I feel the winner's coming from the top here. That's the way I personally see it. The way that Holger Rune has played in this tournament, I think he looks almost like a Carlos Alcaraz style of play. And I feel that I can't wait to see those two play. I'm so disappointed that Alcaraz isn't in this tournament, because it was almost like mirroring Alcaraz. The drop shots were incredible. The volume was brilliant. He had an amazing backhand that was passing Medvedev with ease all the time. But Jannik Sinner, it's a completely different kettle of fish with him. Just, he's powerful. He's consistent. And at the moment, looks a bit unstoppable.
I'm glad you mentioned Alcaraz, because there's a lot of talk about the new big three: Jannik Sinner, Holger Rune, and Carlos Alcaraz. And Jannik Sinner was asked, and we've got the Tennis Letter tweeting out about the future big three. And this is what he had to say. He said, I don't know if it will be me, Carlos Alcaraz, and Holger Rune. There are many players who can fit for the top, like Lorenzo Musetti, or someone from the generation before us, like Daniil Medvedev, Zverev. Them two can't get away from each other, or others. I don't like making predictions. So he doesn't like making predictions. I know you're brilliant at them, so I thought I'd pose the question to you. With your brilliant predictions, Ben, is the next big three going to be Sinner, Alcaraz, and Rune?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think
But
it's
why does
hard
it have
to.
to be three? What's the importance of three? Why can't we have a big four, big two, big six,
Maybe it's just good things come in
big
threes,
one?
mate. I don't know. Three's the magic number, they say. I don't know.
So you
Or
think it's going
maybe
to be another three players dominating the Grand Slams, and it's going to be Sinner, Rune, and Alcaraz?
we don't know yet, but it looks like those three are the players that would be the standout three. Just based upon their age and what they're doing at that age, they're under 20. They're just doing such big things. Obviously, Jannik Sinner a bit older than the others, and he's taken slightly longer to get to these Masters. Well, he's not won a Masters yet. If he can get a Masters under his belt, I feel that Jannik Sinner will be off to the races in Masters, and then potentially we could see finally the slam for Sinner. And I think it's just a matter of time for him. It's not an if, it's a when.
Yeah, agreed.
So do we want to? Are there any tweets here that I need to go for Holger Rune?
We don't really have too many, Ben, but we
think there
can
was
go to the
one.
one where there's one Holger Rune news, and that is that it's his 10th top 10 victory. And I think the significance in this is what we've seen recently with the next gen or new gen, or whatever you want to call them, coming through, is they don't actually do very well when they play the top players. They get very far, they get to the top players and lose. Alcaraz blew that theory out of the water. He come in and instantly started beating everyone. Holger Rune, maybe not as instant as Alcaraz, but he still has shown an ability to beat the top players. I mean, he beat a Djokovic in a final of a Masters event.
That's the one thing that I wanted to raise.
He's just beating a Medvedev. He has the ability to beat the very best players in the world, definitely. I wouldn't be that shocked if he come and beat a Rafael Nadal as well.
Well, he's got
the one star quality.
Sinner doesn't seem to have that exact same thing yet. No. He may grow into it. This is where the sort of mirroring with Alcaraz for big match play is. That's what I like from Holger Rune. He proved it, like you said, against Djokovic in Paris.
Yep.
And you see it in his matches, even against like Medvedev earlier today. When he gets to like the final game, like when he's 5-4 up and that type of thing, there's no like, oh, I'm flapping around, I'm missing my serves. He plays very confidently. He hits balls, he hits winners, he hits aces. That's what you get from Alcaraz as well. They play with confidence up to the end. There might be a small wobble, I'm sure, if he got to a Grand Slam final or something like that. Sure. But in these tournaments, you don't see it. He just is like oozing like the confidence of a young player on court. And that's the one thing that I'm yet to sort of see from Sinner. I need to see him dig in deep when it matters and fight through adversity and then still finish a match.
Saying that, Jannik Sinner has been the best player out of the four for me this year. He has been a real standout. I think he's gone up 3 levels from what we've seen in the past. Yeah. And Opta Race have put a tweet out saying that Jannik Sinner is the youngest player in the Open era to reach the semi-finals in Indian Wells, Miami, and Monte Carlo in the same season. Prior to him, only Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, and Murray have done so.
Yeah, he's having a great year.
So that is remarkable. This is one of the best stats I've seen of the year. Sinner, you could probably argue, has been the most improved tennis player. And I think that's saying a lot because he was already very good. Usually you wouldn't have a most improved tennis player who was already a top player. But I think he's gone up so many levels and he's now considered as still like now one of the best players in the world, which I don't think he was necessarily last year. So he's been highly improved. And I put him as a contender for Roland Garros.
Could well be. I mean, we could get to see a real treat in this semi-final between Rune and Sinner. And it could lead us into... This could be the potential matchup we see again, maybe at Roland Garros. I mean, they are similar conditions as well. We know that Rafa's so good at Monte Carlo. I'm excited to see who comes out on top. I sort of want to go in and go give a prediction, but
let's wait with the predictions because we'll do them at the end. And if we move to Jose Morgado, he's given some stats on Fritz, and it's his first Masters 1000 semi-final outside of Indian Wells. First player from the US to reach the last 4 here in 20 years, and he leads the head-to-head against Rublev 4-2. So looking at these stats for him, he's got a brilliant chance to be in a Masters final on the clay, and an American playing on the clay courts doesn't happen too often. We know Tsitsipas lost to Fritz today.
Yep.
In the match before, who did Tsitsipas beat yesterday?
I can't think off the top of my head.
It's
Tsitsipas.
gone. He beat Jarry, and after that match, he wrote some weird thing on the camera about unicorns and clay courts in the US. Some strange message. Taylor Fritz responded.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to show it. It is from Relevant Tennis. And he put, you can see USA clay with question marks. And the tennis channel asked him about it. He said, we're just joking around, to be fair. He has a very good point in what he's saying. We could use better clay courts in the US for sure. But after that, I just thought it was funny to come back and say something else. So a bit of friendly banter between the two. Just not quite the same as Medvedev-Zverev.
No, but it is quite funny as well, because I even have to
beats him and then puts that on the camera.
I even have to take what I said, really. I said, well, Taylor, everybody who we were sort of tipping, we were saying, this person, that person, and Taylor Fritz, he's good on the hard and good on the grass, but I'm not really sure that he's that great on the clay. Well, he's proved me wrong, hasn't he? Now looks good on the clay as well. So could he be a triple threat? Could he be somebody we really need to watch out for now on clay courts, because he seems to be doing the business?
I think he's just a little bit like a Medvedev in terms of that he can play on all surfaces and just quite good. And Medvedev can't play on all surfaces, but he uses his ability of just being a good tennis player to get results on clay. I feel the same with Fritz. They're not necessarily great clay court players. They're never going to be. Fritz probably better than Medvedev has adapted to it, but still, they just use their ability of being good tennis players to get themselves by.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely starting to show a lot of grit and determination. That's the one thing I'd say about Taylor Fritz that I didn't used to see from him in the past. He really digs in, and even if he goes down a set and stuff like that, he comes back and he actually fights hard, like against Lehechka as well. Managed to knock. That was a tough match. I didn't have him winning that one, but proved me wrong, and then came through strong in the third, 6-1, and then knocks out the reigning, defending two-time back-to-back Monte Carlo champion, and did it quite well, convincingly, considering he got broken and it made it 4-4 at the end of that second set. And then he broke Tsitsipas straight back. That could have unraveled quickly, but he quickly put a lid on it and went, no, you're not going to break me and then take the second set. I'm going to knock you out in straights, mate. USA clay.
Well, let's see now. His matchup is Andrey Rublev. Let's briefly talk about him. He was very impressive, winning in straight sets today. I think his draw's been quite nice, but still had to beat a very powerful player in Jannik Sinner, who on his day is very difficult. Anyone could lose to him because he does find the lines. But the head-to-head 4-2 in Fritz's favour. Bogey player?
How many times have they played on clay?
I don't have that data, Ben.
That's okay. I can bring it up very quickly if we need to. No problemo. Right, so let's just have a look to see if they have played only on outdoor hard or indoor hard. So first clay court meeting between the two. That's interesting. I like that. And
you'd have to favour Rublev slightly, but I think it's tight.
I think you would favour Rublev. I think that the fact that he's knocked out Kalen Khachanov as well in this tournament, someone similar sort of style to a Fritz, big serving, quite tall. I'd say Rublev, last year's finalist, I'd put him as a slight favourite in this one, despite Taylor Fritz's good run.
Yeah, agreed. So before we give our predictions, let's do the last tweet, and that's from Oleg. And I like this one because it's the race for the top 4 seeding at Roland Garros. I know I've said this at many slams recently, but I generally believe this Roland Garros, the seeding and the draw, has never been as important. I'm not going to be surprised if we have so many people joining us for the instant draw reaction, because it is epic. It's going to change, I think, the whole destiny of tennis. The stories what are going to be written. It's just like there's so much at stake on a draw, I feel. So to get the seed in places, Rafael Nadal's going to be out at like some low seed going into Roland Garros. He's going to be the most feared low seed, high seeded player there is. It's going to be crazy. But right now, this is the top 4 seeds. Djokovic, 5,730. He'll be playing the Banya, Lucca, Madrid, and Rome. Alcaraz second. He'll be playing similar. Medvedev, he'll play Madrid and Rome. Rude in 4th currently, and he'll be playing the same. Same with Tsitsipas, but he's a little bit less. However, one of Rublev, Rune, Sinner, or Fritz will have between 3,900 and 4,000 points. So they will be in that conversation. Whoever can win will be overtaking Tsitsipas as knocking on the door to Casper Ruud. And Ruud, I think, could drop some points coming up. So I think he might be holding some. So it's just very fascinating
Holding
to
a lot
see.
of Roland Garros.
Well, after Roland Garros, if he doesn't get to the final again. But potentially the importance of this is one of these 4 young players who are doing very well at Monte Carlo right now, by winning, can get a good seeding position and avoid some top players come Roland Garros, which could then mean that they have a very good Roland Garros as well. I think it's very important for Sinner because we've already seen he struggles against the top players. Rune, maybe it's not as important as it is for a Jannik Sinner. I think Rublev, he will also be really desperate to win this.
You can see it already, can't you? That it'd be typical. Jannik Sinner gets an amazing seed, and then suddenly Rafa's right there next to him in the draw. He's going to be like, I can't catch a break. Get out of the way, Rafa. I just know it's going to happen. I thought it's quite interesting, this as well. I didn't really... Thinking about these players here, if you look at these, you would think straight away, Jannik Sinner, Andrey Rublev, those are the people you expect more at the back end of these tournaments. Yet, Holger Rune and Taylor Fritz are the ones who have won Masters events, and Andrey Rublev and Jannik Sinner yet to win a Masters.
Okay, let's get to the predictions. We'll start with this one. Jannik Sinner versus Holger Rune. How do you see it going, Ben? Sinner is my champion to win Monte Carlo before a ball was hit.
This one is like, can we start on the other one, please? Let's start on the other one. I don't want to come to that one last because that's like the dessert, I feel, that's the main. I mean, this is the starter. This one, Andrey Rublev, Taylor Fritz. I think this is going to be the end of the road for Taylor Fritz, and I think Andrey Rublev, I think he's going to do it, and I think it's going to be in 3. I
agree completely, mate. I think it's going to be also Rublev in 3. I think it's going to be a really tight one, and it's going to be close, but I'll have Rublev winning in 3.
And then we go to the top, and this one, we've got brute force, power, and consistency against Mr. Variety in Holger Rune. I mean, this is tough. I think it's going to be 3 again. That's my personal
The thing with
opinion.
these two is they both have shown this year that they are a little bit prone to an injury or two. And there's some, especially Sinner in the previous years, Rune this year as well. He's had some questionable losses, Rune. Sinner's been more consistent. And for that base, I'm going to be going for Sinner. I know Rune's been playing amazing, arguably the best player this Monte Carlo, but I'm going to be backing Sinner. I predicted him before a ball was hit at Monte Carlo, and I'm going to go with Jannik Sinner in 3 sets.
Well,
I think it'll be easy.
We haven't discussed a head-to-head, but there's only one match they played. It was back in 2020. It's back end of last year. It's an indoor hard court in Sofia in Bulgaria, and that was Rune in 3, but he retired 5-2 in the final set, did Jannik Sinner. So I don't know. We can't read anything into that. Yeah,
These two are very prone to one. So yeah, I wouldn't read into it, but I'm going to stick with my prediction of Sinner in 3.
Sinner in 3. Okay. Interesting. Both 6'2", both very, very similar. I think that the big match temperament of Holger Rune is going to get him through this match. I feel that he has something that Jannik Sinner is yet to discover, and that is just taking the opportunities at the business end of sets. And I feel that that's going to be the difference. And we're going to see it I think Sinner takes the first set, and I think Holger Rune comes back and wins in 3. And it's going to go 4-4 in the final set. And then we're going to see Holger Rune turn it on. And it's going to be 6-4 in the final set.
Anything to ruin my bracket prediction. But yeah, I can understand why you've gone for it. Rune is playing extremely well this event. But let's wrap it up there. Please leave your predictions in the comment section below. If you haven't already, hit the like button on the video, subscribe if you're new, and join us for semi-final action at Monte Carlo Masters tomorrow. We'll be covering some watch-alongs, and of course, we'll be doing a final preview as well in the evening. So, anything left to say, Ben?
No, just join us for the tennis, and good luck to all the semi-finalists.
Forza Jannik! Come on!